Yo, what's good? Easy Breezy Ebe here, and welcome to Easy Ebe Ranks. Today I will be ranking and discussing about The Mandalorian Season 2, which I'm sure almost everybody saw. And yeah, let's just get right to it then. So leaving off from Season 1, The Mandalorian is about Din Djarin. Pretty sure that's Mando's name, I call him Mando. And he is played by Pedro Pascal. And his mission throughout this season is simple. His mission is to, you guys remember Baby Yoda? You find out his name is Grogu. And his mission is to bring him to the Jedis, or we'll find out soon enough, a Jedi, to take care of him and train him so that, you know, Baby Yoda or Grogu will not only become a Jedi, but be able to protect himself from the people that are pursuing him. In this case, currently it's Moff Gideon. Moff Gideon wants to basically harvest his blood to make clone soldiers, right? So Din is tasked, or quested, I should say, as they say in the show, to protect the child, Baby Yoda, aka Grogu, and bring him to where he belongs. So that's really that's the story for the whole season. Every episode this season is more of an obstacle to get where he needs to go, which is to send Baby Yoda to the Jedi, which is kind of a little bit different than Season 1, because in Season 1 you have to, for the first half of the season is building the story, and then also while you're building the story, you have to establish your main antagonists as well. So Season 2 seems to be the consequence of Season 1. To me, it's a little bit simpler story-wise, but there's a lot more, I guess, pure action, pure entertainment, which from Star Wars, for me at least, that's what you want. You want to feel like you're a kid again the first time you watch Star Wars, the original trilogy, or even if the first things you saw were the prequels, whatever it is, right? You just want that pure excitement, pure adventure, pure discovery of this distant world that looks nothing like our own, but secretly it's very similar, right? As we'll find out from the Bill Burr episode, as I call it. Anyway, let's get to my rankings. We go from worst to best. And I don't like to say worst. The ones I enjoyed maybe less than the others. So number 8 for me is Chapter 10. Chapter 10, which was The Passenger. That's the one with the frog lady. Mando is supposed to bring this frog lady to this distant planet where she, bring her and her eggs safely. Sorry, I really need to take care of this hair. I will soon, I promise. And in doing that, her husband, if I'm not mistaken, knows where some Jedi are. And so it's like, I do something for the frog lady and she will do something for me. And at this point, he cannot travel light speed. I'm not exactly sure why that was, but he couldn't travel light speed, and which makes it riskier because, as we find out during the episode, 2 X-Wings, patrol X-Wings, stop him and ask, what is he carrying, who is in the ship, which leads to him trying to lose them in this ice planet, similar to Hoth, and in this sort of, I don't want to say dogfight, but this space chase, he has to hide in the snow, which leads to him crashing actually. And while he does get away from the X-Wings, he crashes and they have to survive in the ice while Din tries to fix the ship. And while all of that is happening, they get chased by, when the frog lady kind of finds this like hot tub, basically jacuzzi, right? And she's swimming in there. The giant spider creatures come and chase them. Well, a few giant spider creatures, or one giant spider creature, and many little mini spider children creatures try to attack them and eat them, basically. And while all of that is happening, the X-Wings are the ones who ultimately save them, but not before his ship gets totally messed up in the process. they barely make it to the next planet, as we see in the next episode. But yeah, so basically this whole time they're on this ice planet, and the best part of the episode was Grogu, right? And I'm not saying like Grogu's not great, but he seems to, and he's the best part of basically every episode to me. But in this particular case, the only reason that this episode is almost tolerable, except for the chase scene with the spider chasing them at the end, is Grogu trying to eat all of the eggs. It's a short episode. It doesn't really push the main narrative so much. It's just like we have to bring Frog Lady from point A to point B so that we can get the reward and information. And Peyton Reed, who also, look, he directed Ant-Man, and he also, as we'll see, will direct the finale. He was tasked to direct this episode specifically, and I think it's only really because he directed Ant-Man. Like, he directed Ant-Man, a lot of ants, CGI little miniature creatures. It translates perfectly into directing miniature spiders, right? And I didn't think it was a bad episode. Like any Mandalorian episode so far seems to be amazing, and they know how to play with the timing, right? Some episodes are longer than others. They're usually about 40 minutes, and this one I think was a little shorter. It felt a little shorter maybe because there wasn't as much going on, but yeah, it was just survival on this ice planet, right? That's all this episode was. Nothing much really happened. So I have to put it down there. I'm not sure I'd ever rewatch this episode specifically, except for if I was rewatching the season for whatever reason, right? So yeah, I have to put it there, number 8. So number 7 for me had to be chapter 12, titled The Siege. The best part of it was really we get to see Cara Dune and Carl Weathers' character again. They're brought over from season 1, and it's also like it's sort of a happy moment. We get to see them again, some of the favorites from season 1. The story was a bit, a few times already in Mandalorian, it's like we need information. We need information. We have to go to an Imperial base or Imperial fort or, fight up some Imperial soldiers and then get out with our lives. And that's sort of what happened in this episode. We got to see that blue guy. The blue guy, he was also in season 1, but in this case, he's helping them. Yeah, and they get in there and then they fight, and we see Cara Dune, fight, and we see Carl Weathers even do some things. It was really more like an action comedy. This episode felt like. It was like they're trying to utilize Cara Dune, Carl Weathers, and the blue guy, as much as they could. This episode seems to be written for them. We get to see Mando as well do some things, and then he disappears for like a good 10 minutes during the car chase at the end. And then he comes back to save the day. Comes back to save the day with his ship, which has been fixed for the most part. And then it's like, yay, and we don't really see Grogu a lot. Grogu was left at the school, and the funniest part was he used, again, Grogu and food, right? Trying to eat that macaroon, the blue macaroon, and he used the Force. I like when they try to use Grogu using the Force as a gag. It's always fun to see. So yeah, other than that, it was not as memorable as maybe some of the stronger episodes this season. And similar to my number 8 selection, it was, again, not something I would watch again unless I was watching the whole season. Yeah. So I had to put this one, The Siege, as number 7. So for my number 6 selection, I have to put, even though I don't want to put it here, when the episode came out, I thought, great episode, amazing, surprised by the director, right? And I don't know, I think for number 6, 5, and 4, they're all sort of there. I think they're almost interchangeable, but if I had to choose, I will have to put The Heiress. The Heiress chapter 11, that's the one we're introduced to Bo-Katan. And I put that in quotes because some of you guys may already know her from Star Wars Clone Wars show, the animation. So she was introduced here for the first time, and she's after the Darksaber, she's after the Rebel ship. What happened in that episode was The frog lady, Din brings the frog lady to her home planet. It seems to be like some sort of fishing city with seas, and they're, I don't want to say octopus people. I don't know what species they're called, but they claim to can bring Din to Jedi, but it turns out they just wanted the child. And while that was happening, Din almost lost the child. Bo-Katan and the other two, the trio of the Mandalorians came and saved him. They seem to be okay with taking off their helmet. So it seems to me that this is the way Din sort of non-taking off the armor. It seems to be more of an ancient tradition or cult where they seem not to be as liberal, for lack of a better word, than the Bo-Katan. He decides to help her take over one of Moff Gideon's lieutenant's ships because she's looking for the Darksaber. It's her family heirloom, and ultimately, if Din helps them do this, they will tell him where to find a Jedi. So they do that, and to be honest, it was one of the better action sequences in the show throughout the season. And at the time, I was really excited for this episode. Bo-Katan, we get to see Bo-Katan and other Mandalorians fight alongside Mando, destroying stormtroopers, and there were some funny gags in there as well. It was intense, but it was not original. It's something sort of we've seen before, Mando and a couple other people taking over an Imperial something for information. And look, Bryce Dallas Howard directed that episode, so it runs in the family. Great directing runs in the family. But I feel like season 2 was so strong, right? When I was doing this list, I felt like this episode would make it to the top half at least. But there are some things as a fan, fan service. Sometimes fan service just trumps it. I'm sorry. Yeah, so here we go. I mean, there is fan service here, obviously, Bo-Katan, but as you'll see, there are bigger episodes. So for number 5, my number 5 episode was The Tragedy. The Tragedy, I also call it the Boba Fett episode. I call it the Boba Fett episode because it's not the first time we see Boba Fett, nor is it the first time we see his armor, but it's the first time we see Mando interact with Boba Fett. It's the first time we see Boba Fett don his armor and murk stormtroopers, which is amazing. They did Boba Fett justice because in the original trilogy, he's there, he's awesome, but he doesn't do much. So, and it's great to see with the prequel movies, we see what Jango Fett did. So Boba Fett, I'm sure, did similar things, amazing things, and we see that in this episode. And this is sort of the episode where we get to see Boba Fett just enough to tell us, hey, Boba Fett is gonna have his own show, guys. So, watch out. But if you watch the Boba Fett show, you'll get more of this, right? That's basically what this episode was. But it wasn't only that. It was one of the shorter episodes. I think it was maybe even less than 30 minutes. But in this episode, Mando brings Grogu to this sort of ancient temple thing ruins at the top of a mountain, so that Grogu can use the Force and communicate with a Jedi. And while that is happening, he has to fight off stormtroopers trying to take Grogu, and he fights them off with the help of Boba Fett and homegirl, sniper girl, sharpshooter girl, I forget her name. And they fight until, unfortunately, the tragedy, Grogu gets taken. Now, it was a great episode. I think it was one of the more emotional episodes. When my girlfriend watched this episode, she was crying. I mean, she doesn't even watch all of the episodes. She just watches for Grogu. And when I showed her Grogu get taken and get shackled, she was sobbing. She was like, she didn't even watch the Believer, the episode after this, because she was like, if there's no Grogu and Grogu's not being saved, I'm not watching it. So, yeah, and that's all. That's really all that happened. Like, there were some cool action sequences. It was more of a Boba Fett showcase in terms of the action. And then Grogu gets taken, which is like just one narrative, one overarching storyline thing that happened. So I can't give it too much credit, but it was a great episode. Robert Rodriguez, one of the masters of his craft, right? So for action alone, it's at the top. Again, it's one of these ones where I thought Robert Rodriguez, Boba Fett, amazing action, right? It should be at the top half, but it only made it to number 5. And again, number 5, you know, number 6, number 5, and number 4, they're all there kind of in the middle. They're all great. You know, I wouldn't put one over the other. And actually, this is one of the ones that I would rewatch again, just to watch, you know, at least the clips of Boba Fett, you know, fighting. So amazing, amazing. And yeah, we move on to the next one. We move on to the top half of the show. Now, this may surprise some of you. I'm sure a lot of you guys, just because of who's in the episode, may put this top 3 at least, maybe even, except for, you know, I'm sure everybody had the same top episode, but except for that, maybe at least top 2. And I am talking about The Jedi, right? And I'm talking about the Ahsoka episode. Now, Ahsoka, even if you didn't watch the animation, even if you didn't watch Star Wars Rebels and Star Wars Clone Wars, you know Ahsoka. You know Ahsoka. Ahsoka is played by Rosario Dawson. On that alone, it should be top 2. But it's not. Then that's not saying it's a bad episode. It's just saying this season of Mandalorian, if it look, they're gonna make more seasons of Mandalorian. I don't think they're all gonna be amazing as long as Favreau's there and Filoni's there. But I don't think they will ever top this. Like, not many shows can, and I don't think they will ever top this season of Mandalorian. Just because of the situation of it all, because of what it had to do, right? It didn't only have to tell Mandalorian's story, they had to organically fit Boba Fett in there, organically fit Ahsoka in there, because they're making spin-off shows, right, off the Mandalorian. But that unique circumstance sort of brings it to this extra elevated level of having these extra toys to play and showcase. Because they not only have to showcase these characters, they have to sell a whole separate show for these characters. So it has to be top notch. And when I was watching this episode, I thought, oh wow, they cannot top this episode. We're getting such a big episode. It's relatively earlier in the season. It's not even the penultimate episode. But it was great, and Rosario Dawson is amazing. She looks like she was born to play that role. You know, you guys might know her as the night nurse in the Marvel TV show, but I know her from Clerks 2, and I know her. You know, she's in a lot of things. Everybody knows who she is, and big fan of hers. And Ahsoka murked that episode, but that's the thing. It was more of an Ahsoka episode. Right? A lot of what happened in the episode, a lot of the best moments of the episode came from Ahsoka. Din had great moments as well, right? He had his, you know, his high noon draw and shoot moment. He has a few of those, but like, it was more of an Ahsoka episode, not taking away any credit from this episode. Great episode. We learned Grogu's name in this episode. And she ultimately decides, after getting the Beskar spear, she learns about, she wants to know where Thrawn is, right? Her nemesis. And after learning that information, she denies taking care of Grogu. I think 2 things play into that factor. One is she has another mission. She needs to find Thrawn and probably to find Ezra. But number 2, she doesn't think she's up for the task. Baby Yoda, Grogu, his species, they're very powerful with the Force, and this Baby Yoda, because we find out he was taken from the temple during Order 66, he was one of the younglings that was not murdered by Anakin. He has been hiding for the past 50 years, trying to disconnect from the Force so that he doesn't get found. He has a lot of anger. And you know who else had a lot of anger? Darth Vader. and she's seen it before, her master, right? And she just can't take on that responsibility, which leads to, you know, trying to find another Jedi who can take Grogu to train Grogu. So it was a good episode. It's a top half, definitely. I put it number 4. And but the thing is, not enough Mandalorian. There's great Jedi action. I have to give it that. I really thought this would be in the top 3 at least. You know, you have an idea of your rankings before you get into it, and I thought I was gonna put it at number 2. But it's not, it's number 4, and I'll tell you why. So here we go, we're going to our top 3. So here we go. Number 3 for me is Chapter 9, The Marshal. I kind of loved this episode. I'll tell you why. Because it's very Mandalorian in the sense that the main character here, the main focus here is Mando, is Din. Right? It's not even Grogu, it's Din, okay? He has to basically not just use his impressive fighting ability, his power, his strength. No, he has to figure out a way to negotiate between Timothy Oliphant's Marshal character and the Tusken Raider community, right? And he has to sort of be the broker to unite these two peoples to fight the giant worm monster. All right, I forgot the name of the monster off the top of my head. But in doing this, it shows Mando not just trying to get what he wants, in this case the armor. He does things for the good, common good, right? It just sets up his character so well, and you have to re-establish that in the season 1 of anything, right? Because characters, they change throughout the seasons, right? The characters have character arcs throughout the season, and it establishes Din to be a very different Din. Think about the pilot of season 1. He's a bounty hunter in it for the money. And here we are at the beginning of season 2 doing things for the common good of the people. It just shows you, right? It establishes Din as a different entity. Everything that happened to him in season 1, it's culminated in this new Din Djarin Mando, right? And not only that, Timothy Oliphant, underrated, justified, hitman, girl next door. Oh my God, you guys seen Girl Next Door? Timothy Oliphant is a legend in his own right, and he doesn't play a Bo-Katan, he doesn't play an Ahsoka. He plays the Marshal, who is just, you know, a sheriff basically. And he made that character so memorable for someone we haven't seen before and will probably never see again. And it's great, you know. I just think that episode is so original. It's so Western in the very fundamental sense of it. And he does the suit justice as well. And they save the community, and he gives the suit off to Mando. And I just thought it was so memorable. That episode was longer. It was like an hour-long episode. It was shot in like IMAX. You saw the different aspect ratios. It was shot in IMAX for certain scenes. I think they do that a few times in the whole series, but it was just great. I just remember being so excited for this new season. So much wonders that's going to happen this season, and it holds up, man. This is definitely one of those episodes, no matter how many seasons of this they make, this episode is a feat on its own, right? It's a feat on its own. It's a mini movie of sorts, and I loved it. I really loved it, and I think that's why you see my lower tier selections for this season. They're sort of the early on episodes after episode 1, after season 2, episode 1, because you use this Marshal episode as sort of the standard bearer for the season, and the standard is so high to begin with that the Siege and the Passenger, they sort of become filler in comparison. So I have to put this at number 2. And I didn't think I was gonna put this at number 2. Pilots, they tend to be forgotten, but not this one. I shouldn't say pilots, season openers. And you know, wow, I was blown away by this episode. And I think Jon Favreau directed it too, which was, amazing. So that, yeah. Now, my number 2 may or may not be a surprise to you guys. And again, this has reasons, not just, I think, for the episode itself. And I think probably most of you guys wouldn't put it at number 2, but I had to. I had to put The Believer. The Believer, chapter 15, if I'm not mistaken, The Believer. The Bill Burr episode. Again, it's just so Mandalorian at its essence, right? It doesn't borrow too much from original trilogy. There are no newly introduced characters to sort of fan service the shit out of you. Not to take away the Grogu aspect. There's no Grogu in this, and surprisingly, it's up there still because it's just, the show is Mandalorian. The show is Din. Din is willing to do anything he needs to get Grogu back, and he's willing to break Bill Burr's character out of prison to help him, and Bill Burr just carries that episode. Oh my gosh, he dominated. Bill Burr and Mando, their conversations, and the way his character alone, right, through his words, just makes Din, it just changes his perspective on life. He becomes one of those, he's comfortable with now taking off his helmet, right? For the sake of Grogu, of course, but also because of what the new perspective, the disillusionment that Bill Burr's character instills in Din to show him, look, what is it you value? Do you value your inherent values that you grew up with, or do you value your loved ones? What would you do when you're desperate? And it just shows you, and it's similar to The Last Jedi. I talk about, when what's his name? Benicio del Toro talks about who is profiting from war, right? Like, who is the bad guys, good guys? It's like, look, to these people, to the inhabitants of this planet, it doesn't matter. Rebel, Imperial, doesn't matter. Their lives is, they're just people that you guys play with, basically. The rebels and Imperials just taking over their land, and they have nothing to do with this whole politics, but they're just caught up in it, right? And they have no power whatsoever. And it shows, it kind of brings Din down to earth. And another main reason, not just Bill Burr, is, look, you want to test yourself as a writer? If you are an aspiring writer, right? Here's what you do. Can you make an interesting scene with 2 or 3 characters sitting down at a table? Nothing else is going on. 2 or 3 characters, really just 2 in this case, because Din didn't talk much, right? 2 characters sitting down across from each other at a table, right? Having a conversation. Try it. This episode had that, and I love those scenes. Like, you can't have it all the time unless you're like a weirdo like me. You guys ever seen that show Criminal on Netflix? Criminal UK, Criminal France, whatever. It's literally just an interrogation room. That's the whole show, is they're in an interrogation room and they have to solve this case. And I just love those scenes where it's 2 people having a conversation, and it's not just what they say, right? The commanding officer is suspicious of these 2, right? So he is using his story, his dialogue, to learn more about these 2, while these 2 are trying to suppress who they truly are, which is they're basically spies, right? They're basically undercover. And at the same time, Bill Burr is trying to hold his hatred for his ex-commander who led all of his friends to die on the suicide mission on this planet a long time ago. For what? For nothing. For the Empire, who he detests, right? And he's just holding himself, holding that rage as long as he can. Mando's like, no, and he just couldn't do it anymore. That guy was such a fucking asshole. He had to shoot him. And it jeopardized everything. But that tension, that buildup from just this conversation, not just the surface level dialogue, but you know, what do you call it? Shit, I'm losing it. But the meaning behind what they say, right? There's the surface level meaning and then the implicit meaning, and then it goes layers. There's so many layers to that conversation of 2 people, 3 people sitting at that table. I just thought that was amazing, and it just brought back everything that Bill Burr was talking about. Doesn't just apply to Din, but it applies to himself. And it's also at the same time, it's Bill Burr being Bill Burr, which is great, because I don't know if you watch his stand-up. That's like the type of things he says in his stand-up. And it also brings this show, The Mandalorian. It is this fantasy planet and everything, but it brings it back to Earth, to our Earth, right? It sort of makes that implicit connection between their situation and, you know, the politics and the the injustices that happen in our planet Earth as well, which is great. And that's why I have to put it at episode 2. I mean, my number 2. And it is the episode where Din has his Taken moment, his Liam Neeson moment, which was badass as fuck. So yeah. So let's get to my number 1, and it's the only one left. So you know what it is. Guys, do I actually have to say? My number 1 might be my shortest one. Din and the boys and gals go to, well, Din and Boba Fett and gals go to rescue Grogu. In doing so, they have to fight Moff Gideon and his Dark Troopers. Dark Troopers are impossible to beat, so Stormtroopers get murked, as they usually do, because they can't aim. But then the Dark Troopers are chasing after them. At the same time, Moff Gideon is holding Grogu hostage with the Darksaber. But remember, Beskar, right? Beskar is resistant to the sabers, which allows Din to fight Moff Gideon and win the Darksaber. Now, it turns out you have to defeat the person wielding the Darksaber to earn the Darksaber in a battle, which means Bo-Katan, even though Mando's like, have it. Why can't they just pretend, right? I guess Bo-Katan is like, no, I have to defeat you in battle before I can earn my shit. So that's gonna be a season 3 thing. Because they were about to get killed. They were about to get killed by an army of Dark Troopers. They thought that they can just shoot them into the vacuum of space and they would die, but they're robots. They're robots. You know, the weakness of soldiers is the human component. So the robots are, you know, resistant to blasters. They come and they're locked up in the bridge. They're about to have the last stand, but it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen because it was not Mandalorian and the gang that is committing this rescue. Oh, no. The rescue is being committed by the one and only Luke motherfucking Skywalker. Now, if you're watching my channel, you know that this is a reaction channel, and so go ahead and watch my reaction to episode chapter 16. I react to every single episode of The Mandalorian season 2, but look, I felt like I was 9 again. When I was 9, they re-released in the theater in my town the original trilogy in theaters, and that's when I experienced Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, Leia, Vader. I saw it all in theaters when I was 9 years old. Not 9 years old, sorry, 8 years old. 7 or 8 years old, 1999? Yeah, 8 years old. I experienced it in theaters, which is, which was amazing. And Luke Skywalker has always been a hero, and to see Mark Hamill reprise his, oh my goodness, what am I saying? Mark Hamill reprised his role as Luke Skywalker fucking 33 years after he played it in 1977 or whatever, 1978, I don't even remember, late 70s. The same actor, I'm sure it was a stunt guy doing all the stunts, right? It was the reveal of his face came at the end, It's practical in the sense they don't have to show his face doing the fighting. But they CGI'd him and he had the voice. I'm sure he did the facial expressions as well, which Master Luke, Master Jedi Luke, Jedi Master Luke, he doesn't really have too much expression because he's supposed to be very stoic, except for at the end of Jedi where Darth Vader goes, "Sister, your twin sister," and that's when he breaks, right? He's like, "No!" and then murks his own father, right, out of rage. Because he's a Skywalker, right? He's not perfect. He has that rage in him because he's a Skywalker, but that's the whole thing. That's what makes Star Wars great. It's not the physical battles. It's the internal battles. It's the emotional battles, right? That Luke Skywalker he's like his father. He has that rage in him, but he didn't succumb to it like his father did. And that's what makes him a hero, right? And we see Luke just, oh my God, slide through these dark troopers like they're just paper, just like a katana through pieces of paper. And that was the catharsis, that was the child in you, that was just everything. And I couldn't believe it. I was in such disbelief. I was like, one X-Wing? Yeah, I mean, it could be anybody. One X-Wing, nice callback. Dark cloak. Oh shit, it's a Jedi lightsaber, but it's in the black and white, right? So you can't really see what color lightsaber. Oh shit, green lightsaber. No fucking way, he's wearing one black glove. He at the end of finally, right? It's him. I mean, even to the point where he hanged is for people. He hung his hilt on his belt buckle. That's, that confirmed it. It confirmed it, but still I was like, no fucking way. And then he takes off the hood and it's fucking Mark Hamill as Luke. And not only that, of course, right? A lot of things happened in that episode that was great. The fight between Moff Gideon, the showdown between Moff Gideon and Mando, that was the showdown we were waiting for the whole season. Grogu getting saved, which was amazing. And then even when after Luke came, again, it's this is drama. Just TV shows are about drama. It's about emotion. It's about characters. And taking off the helmet for Grogu, right? That was just heartbreaking. After just getting Grogu back, making sure he's safe. But Luke has to train Grogu because they're not physically, Yoda's species, they're not physically capable, right? They have to learn the Force in order to defend themselves. And so you have to, as long as he's not trained in the ways of the Force, he will never be safe. Always be depending on others. Which is why, even though, they don't really want to, they have to, Mando has to give Grogu away to Luke. And I don't know if this is the last time we'll see Grogu in Mandalorian. I'm sure it's not, right? But will he ever have a role as big as he's had this past 2 seasons, being alongside Mando, right? And that was just seeing Grogu being escorted away on the shoulder of Luke and with R2-D2. That was just so emotionally heart-wrenching, heart-crushing, heartbreaking, which is why I have to put it as my top episode. Not just because of the action, Jedi action, Mando action, the side characters fighting stormtroopers action, the reveal, the intrigue before the reveal, the emotion, right? The sadness, the bittersweet ending. It's just so Star Wars. It's so original and it's so even standalone, as a standalone episode, as someone who's never seen any of the series, they can come in, watch this episode and understand why people love it so much. And that's why I have to put this episode as my number 1. I know, guys, I know this has been a long video and I'm sure a lot of you guys just skipped to my top 3 just to see what they were. It's just fine, it's just fine. Go ahead and hit the like button and the subscribe button to support the channel. I do still have to do my kind of season wrap up. And to me, I thought this season, even though there was a lot of fan service, which as an art form, I usually kind of take off points, but they, as everybody else have said in all the other podcasts and reviews, they've earned it. They earned it. They earned all of this fan service. because they did season 1 correctly. They've established Mando, established Grogu, established Cara Dune, you know, they've established Moff Gideon all in that season 1. Now, season 1 was almost 100% original, barring the fact that it's in the Star Wars universe. And then they kind of, this is sort of the payoff, right, for season 2. And season 2 is almost perfect. It's even not, I don't want to say perfect as in like nothing is better than this. No, I mean like it went as well and even surpassed expectations of what it could be, even with the high expectations. But what I don't want to see is season 3, another season 3 where we're doing a lot of fan service, right? I think they need to re-earn it because they've kind of cashed that check. I wonder if we'll see Luke. Will he be like a part of this world now? Are we going to see Luke regularly? Is he going to be a recurring sort of character? Or will we see Mando and Luke come save the day one of the episodes in season 3, right? And I'm intrigued to see where the rest of this show is going. But even if the show ended here, it would make sense because we've kind of had this objective of we need to give Grogu to his species, his kind, not his species, but his kind, his Jedi, right? His Jedi people to take care of him. And we've finished that main objective. The main objective of season 1 and 2 has been completed, right? The only sort of thing tagging us along for season 3 is what's gonna happen to Moff Gideon, and the Darksaber is the Mandalorian. Is Mando going to keep it, or will he have to go at war or battle with Bo-Katan, which is something I don't see them prolonging that for the whole season of season 3. Anyway, I'm talking about season 2 now. I thought it was great. As I said, all the episodes were so good that the episodes I thought would make it to the top 3 didn't even make it to the top 3. And you can't even rank the ones in the middle because they're so unique at their own aspects, except for I think my number 8 and number 7 selections. They're all rewatchable, right? I think for me at least. And this is just my personal opinion. Let me know what you guys think. Well, how would you rank the episodes? Is your number 1 and number 2 the same as mine? I think everybody has the same probably best episode. So I'm more curious to see what is your second favorite episode for the season. Leave that in the comments as well. So yeah, and this video has gone on long enough. Who do I think should watch it? I'm not gonna give it a grade or a rating. I'm not that kind of person. I think that this is suitable for all people that like fantasy. And it's suitable for family, and I don't want to say just children, but younger people can watch it. But it's also I don't want to say an adult show that it's has adult themes, but it's enjoyable for everyone, and that's what makes Star Wars great. Because if it's not about entertainment and if it's not about the childish things of it, the fantasy of it, the Grogus of it, there's the action parts of it, which is suitable for young adults, right, and even teenagers. But then there's the emotional aspect of it, the fatherhood, right? Mando Din is basically a father, a surrogate father, having to give up his child in Grogu to bring him, basically send him off to boarding school, right? That theme is there, right? As someone is about love, right? It's about belief. It's about overcoming obstacles. And I'm sorry, I mean, I don't mean to offend children, I guess, but those are not themes. Those are not aspects that children understand, not even teenagers, right? Those are things that only adults who have lived some life at least can understand, right? Those sorts of concepts and themes of love and sacrifice. And that's what makes this show great. Even though it's good for all ages, I think it even hits harder for the adults. So yeah, and this is yes, I am targeting those motherfuckers who keep saying, oh, Star Wars is for children. No, fuck off, dude. I love Star Wars, yeah. And I'm in my late 20s. Shit, so yeah. All right, that was my review. I'm sure it's super long. And I hope you enjoyed it. Subscribe to see more reactions, and I will be doing my His Dark Material rankings soon. A lot of particularly two big season finales this week. So thanks for watching. And until the next video, remember, easy does it.